At BMO Insurance, customer experience is a promise. A promise we back with clear, measurable service level agreements. In the last year, our teams supporting you have driven real results. Now, progress sets the pace. Smart app submissions reach underwriting within 1 day of submission, and 99% processed within our service level agreements. Policy settlement within 2 days, and claims completed within 10 days. We know time is valuable. That's why our new business team routinely answers phone calls within 1 minute and provides email responses within 24 hours. Because when SLAs deliver, your business accelerates. We've redefined what fast and reliable service looks like, empowering advisors with the tools to drive business forward. Service level agreements aren't just targets, they're a commitment to our advisors. And at BMO Insurance, we're raising the standard.
The next evolution of Rover AI is here. It delivers real-time insights, products, and underwriting information and quick access to advisor resources, all in one smart tool designed for real-life conversations. Let's talk about how our advisors are actually using Rover AI every day to make their business better. When client situations get complex and advisors need answers, they need them fast. With Rover AI, advisors can ask real questions about real scenarios. For example, how multiple medical conditions may impact underwriting, eligibility, and product options. Rover AI then analyzes the details, surfaces relevant consideration, potential outcomes, and practical next steps, all in one clear response, grounded in real-life use cases. This helps advisors prepare for better conversations, set the expectations earlier, and move forward with confidence. Advisors often need to go deeper as conversations evolve. With Rover AI, follow-up questions are seamless. They're connected. An advisor asking about a 55-year-old male with type 2 diabetes diagnosed a few years ago and whether the client may be rated. Rover AI then assesses the medical information and provides a clear underwriting perspective with follow-up questions. The client is planning a 3-week trip to Vietnam. Does that change anything? Rover AI then factors in the travel details, confirm that the client would be assessed as standard for the planned travel. By building on each question, Rover AI helps advisors stay informed, reduce uncertainty, and guide conversations with confidence. Sometimes advisors need more than an instant answer. They need the right resources, and they need them fast. When an underwriting question cannot be answered right away, Rover AI steps in with support. The advisor submits the questions, and Rover AI confirms that a detailed assessment will be delivered by email within 24 hours. No guesswork, no dead ends. Rover AI also makes it easy to assess the right documents and contacts in one place. From business development team to new business and client services, compensation, digital support, and key team information is always just within reach. Advisors can quickly reference procedures like conversations, withdrawals without searching across multiple systems. That's the beauty of Rover AI. It always provides direct access to all the forms needed for each transaction. Rover AI helps advisors save time, stay supported, and keep their business moving forward. Our industry doesn't need more tools, it needs better ones, and that's Rover AI. Rover AI is a tool built with advisors, built for advisors. So log into your portal today and explore Rover AI. And if you need more assistance, connect with your business development manager. We're here to help.
Welcome back, everyone, to Life Forward, We're excited to kick off the new year with a series of new and exciting guests to continue moving your advisor business forward.
As AI transform how organizations operate and compete, advisors need to move past the headlines, understanding real-world applications, emerging capabilities, the impact on decision-making, and client engagement. Long-term value is critical.
Today's webinar is hosted by our very own Chandni Azrot, Business Development Manager at BMO Insurance. Chandni will be joined today by industry leaders Aaqib Azeem, AI and Machine Learning Customer Engineer and Country SME for Google Cloud, and Jessica Lewis, Partner at PwC, to explore how AI is shaping organizations today and what it means for the future of insurance. Let's get into it. Over to you, Chandni.
Artificial intelligence is everywhere. We're integrating it in our day-to-day lives. Now, whether it is to enhance the way we live or enhance the way we work, it's everywhere. Welcome, Aaqib. Welcome, Jessica. We're glad to have you here, and let's dive right into the world of AI. From your perspective, what type of tools or trends you are seeing in AI that is adding a lot of meaningful impact in the way the organizations work today?
So looking across the insurance sector, one of the biggest trends that we're seeing right now is how we can use natural language processing to help with unstructured data to start to be synthesized and brought forward more effectively to guide decision making. So one of the key things around that, when I think about advisors or contact centers or any really customer interaction, is how do you take what's been discussed in conversations or what might be coming from different sources such as email correspondence or even chat, and start to bring that together into building a picture of a client or building a synthesis of what happened in a discussion. Another area that I see it really starting to come together is in helping drive process efficiency. So how can we take out some of the specific tasks that are done, whether it's an underwriting process, a claims process, an administrative change, and take out some of the manual effort where an agent can now do that work. And we think of that as more process automation than, generative AI. But you may have some other ideas as well.
No, that's right on the point. I think the transformational change from going from structured data to unstructured data is huge, because I think if you look at just the insurance industry, it's been built on rows and columns. And when you move to this kind of unstructured data set, which is things like medical notes, medical imagery, you get a lot more detail in terms of what the patient or the caregiver is actually providing for the individuals. And this gives additional context to the models themselves. And this allows solutions like large language models to be able to benefit and be more customized to the individual. So yes, it's a big change, specifically on the multimodal side, both from an ingestion and then output perspective as well.
Now, this is a concern that a lot of people have when we talk about AI and its use in any industry, pretty much. What is organizations' role to really embed AI more responsibly, and what can leadership do to talk about it more openly about its role, and not just the roles, but its limitations as well?
Yeah, I think the big issue with AI and also adoption within organizations is just the transparency. And that's what leads to the low adoption rate, because people don't necessarily trust the final response, especially in enterprises. I think for a lot of organizations, for them to start leveraging a lot of the technology, there's simple solutions like grounding your data, right? Being able to see where this information is actually being produced, right, within your existing source material. But then, more importantly, yes, you finally know where this information is coming from, but then do you know if that information is correct, right? So it leads to this element of being able to have proper governance on the existing data before the large language models and before AI is able to give you these kind of more summarized and discrete responses?
I think of it from two angles. There's one of having very clear, transparent communications to the users and the contributors of data. So whether that's your employee population or your customer population, being very clear on what is being used with the data, how it's being used, and what might be coming out that is AI and might not be a human. And then I think the other piece on the governance is the human in the loop, making sure that there's controls in place. And I think the piece around, checking data sources and making sure there's a comfort around the validity or the quality of the data, that is so important to enforce. And then, being able to communicate that back to individuals, that things are not done without a human in the loop to kind of test and oversee what is coming out to individuals.
I love that you said that, because I think when people talk about AI, they're thinking we're eliminating the human element. We're not. We're elevating it. So looking from our perspective in our industry, we work with our advisors very closely. And when we launched our bot, which is Rover AI, our intent was clear. We wanted to give advisors back their time, and we wanted to take the guesswork out of their workflow. And we stand alone in the industry today as the first and only carrier to deploy such a groundbreaking underwriting bot. And as you both may know, when it comes to life insurance application life cycle, underwriting is the most critical stage.
Yep.
With Rover AI, we're giving all the crucial, critical informations to the advisors in the hands up front. So when they're sitting down with the clients, they can now set the stage. They can set the expectations on what to expect, what's to come in future. And it has absolutely revolutionized the way advisors write business with us. And just like any other AI, it is evolving. It's going to evolve. So now we've fed through product information, we've fed through claims information, and we are committed to making Rover AI one-stop shop for all our advisors' needs. From your perspective, what are you seeing in your industries? What tools and trends are there that's making these everyday immediate impacts the way we are doing with Rover?
So thinking about the insurance sector as a whole, one of the areas that I've seen, a lot of impact and a lot of excitement around it is in how information can be retrieved for advisors and really for kind of operation staff as well. As you said, there's medical records or there's applications, there's these different data sources that tend to kind of get caught up in email or SharePoint folders, or they're kind of not in one place. So that information retrieval piece has been very helpful for those that are kind of looking at how to connect back with the customer, how to make sure that they're checking every point in the process that they have what they need. I think the other part too, and I'm not sure that it's kind of being talked about enough, but is the training angle. So those that are coming into the industry who are perhaps less tenured, they might be their first couple of years operating as an advisor. You now have at your fingertips all of these solutions to support you and enable you to kind of make sure that you're having the right type of conversation with clients. And then you also know where to go if you have questions. You have your assistant right there that is supplementing information for you.
I think Jessica hit it right on the nose. I think there's a massive misunderstanding of large language models and AI in general. I feel like everyone thinks you can just give it everything that you have, and then hopefully it'll give you the right answer because you provided it all the information. But surprisingly, that doesn't give you the what you're kind of looking for. A lot of the times what you want to provide is very specific information for the query that you're asking. And this requires search, right? There's like the classical enterprise search. And enterprise search within an organization is very difficult to do, right? A lot of organizers are still struggling to implement something like this just because there's data everywhere in the organization. It's sitting within knowledge bases, it sits within your emails as well. So being able to retrieve that information and then providing that to the model itself in a structured environment where it is ranked and prioritized, so it's the most relevant information, and that allows the model to actually bring you the most relevant information to the end user. I also think, from an understanding perspective of new employees or people that are taking on a new task, being able to have almost a a policy and procedural layer with your AI solution is key. And being able to tell you when you've missed a step in terms of your existing process and make sure that you do it or automatically do it on your behalf is going to be critical, because human errors is a big role, and mitigating that would save thousands, if not millions.
Yeah, and I always say, tools are only tools. If we don't train the people how to use those tools, it doesn't mean anything. It's not adding any value, just sitting there, it's collecting dust. From your perspective, how do you think AI is going to evolve when we talk about it in terms of application in financial services industry, especially insurance?
Yeah, I think the tools themselves are going to be a stepwise change in terms of the existing process that ways things are being done today. I think initially it's all about how do we augment AI into the existing process. And I think organizations that at least I work with are looking at the entire process end to end and looking at the inputs and then the final outputs and trying to skip the middle layer. And with AI, you can actually do a lot of this, right? Like, you don't have to go through 25 pages of process to be able to get the information you need. You can have a natural conversation, like similar to how you're having with a human. You can have that same kind of conversation with an AI system that allows you to get the information that is needed to be able to process a claim, as an example. And then also, the middle steps in terms of our back-end systems of how we actually run processes internally, something like underwriting as an example, all the steps to lead up to making a decision. Imagine being able to get 80% of the way there with AI, and then allowing the human to complete the last 20%, right? Speeding up the time to the final output is where AI is becoming more and more useful.
And one of the areas that I think we're going to see more and more in a couple of years as adoption grows is really what the relationship looks like with customers, and how advisors, kind of those that are front-facing, can really show up in the market differently, because you now have so much more of a focus on building the relationship. You can start to scale what it is in how you show up in marketing materials, and being able to spend time kind of tailoring information for your customers. You can kind of set up agents that can understand specific customer segments that you're working with and personalize the messaging that you're sending out to them. And you as an advisor might be reviewing it, but then making sure it's coming out as your voice, that it sounds really specific to them. And so things that advisors would have said, it takes too much time in the past, or I don't have capacity to serve such a large number of customers the way that I would want to. The idea is that you should be able to actually spend more time with them and actually deepen that relationship. And the other side around kind of prospecting and growing relationships, before clients are in the funnel, being able to identify which customers you want to be going after. There's so much about these kind of larger data sets that we can now start looking at internal data that might be inherent to the organization, and what external data sets can complement it, that will be at advisors' fingertips to really think of, okay, what is my niche that I want to be going after and really building my brand around?
Yeah, it's all about giving them back their time. It's about efficiency. That's what AI is all about. From our perspective, we want our advisors to do what they do best, rather than sitting around waiting for a preliminary question to be answered.
Yeah.
It takes days, sometimes weeks. We want them to be in front of the clients. We want them to build the relationships. That's what they're good at. We want them to serve our Canadians. Right?
I also think, more than that, these are stochastic models, right? So these are creative models in nature. So being able to empower the people that are going to be speaking with other people, being able to educate them so that they're ready for that conversation is another element, right? Because obviously automation is one piece to save them a lot of time, but being able to have the right information, having the right talking points, being up to speed in terms of the latest products and services that are being deployed within the organization, almost kind of like an agent that promotes the organization for your employee before they get onto the main stage of speaking to a customer.
Yeah. I think when we talk about AI, we immediately talk about future, or we think about future at least. say 5 or 6 years from now, how do you think AI is going to look, and what can we do today to prepare for that future?
Do you want to go first on this one?
Sure. I think the big topic these days is very much around AI agents, right? I feel like every executive that I speak to only wants to talk about AI agents and how AI agents are going to change the workforce. And yes, there is going to be a big element of how this level of automation is going to support subject matter experts within organizations and allow AI solutions to be those subject matter experts that have access to the tools and can complete tasks on your behalf. But we're going to see a shift in the way people actually operate within organizations. I think there's an element of currently leveraging AI to kind of do your work and support you in terms of your existing task. But then I believe in the future, it's going to be very much around focused on the high intensity creative elements of your job. And a lot of this AI solution is going to service this information to you automatically, tell you, what's on your calendar, manage your existing schedules, manage your inbox, right? Be able to organize you to be able to be very action oriented and complete the task that you have assigned for the day. I think right now, currently how a lot of these AI systems kind of sit, they're more in the back end trying to automate specific tasks or complete existing workflows. But you're slowly starting to see it come to the forefront where you're getting experiences that you get in Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude directly for advisors and even customers.
I do think that there's an element maybe 5 or 6 years down the line, particularly when we think of the financial services landscape in Canada and abroad, is how are ecosystems going to look? So whereas today we might think traditionally, well, I'm looking for a product, and so I go to those that I know will provide that product. I might now be thinking of recommendations based on brands that I trust that are then identifying that I may have a need. So I might be thinking of a banking product or a wealth product or a life insurance product in a different way than I do today, where I might be waiting for a referral from a friend or a recommendation from someone that I already have a relationship with. Now it's going to be different networks that I've built trust with, that I've built loyalty with, because I have a strong relationship with that brand, that I'm now open to all of the different products and services, and they might be kind of identifying needs that I have as a consumer that I wouldn't yet have thought about today. And I think for years we've been thinking about next best action and personalization, but I think that's really going to come to scale now with AI and bringing data together more effectively.
If there's one mindset shift you could propose, what would it be?
Yeah, I would say there's been, I guess when AI has been leveraged within the workspace, people are kind of ashamed that I used AI to be able to generate this email, or I got this through AI that actually gave me the answer. My objective is to get rid of that stereotype. A lot of my teams, I even make sure when they're giving me an answer, I'm like, did you ask Gemini and get this response, or where is this coming from? Because if you're not using AI, I feel like there's a massive disadvantage, right? You've wasted a lot of time and resources to be able to get the information that you could have easily gotten with these AI systems. So remove the stigmatization on leveraging AI to kind of get your work done. And if that was my only objective for 2026, that would probably what it'd be.
I think that there's an element of becoming very curious as an asset, becoming very curious in how do things work, how can I understand new technology, how can I play around with it, but also how can I be curious of domains that maybe historically I didn't work within. So, what are other functions doing? How are other business units operating? What can I learn from them or share with them that might help me in my role? Because we're no longer working in just our functional silos. AI is allowing us to bring together so many different data sources across the organization, and we all work in very large organizations where we sit within our functions. But now we have to start thinking about it differently, of actually what is everything that can come together that can make us better in our roles, and then being very critical of that, still bringing that decision making, still questioning it and asking if it's right, where we have the expertise and the understanding.
Well, we at BMO Insurance, we would like to think very AI driven, very AI leading. What would you say, or how would you say artificial intelligence is impacting the way we're making decisions in our business every day?
I think that there's a couple of ways that it's impacting the business. I think for one, it's questioning traditional delivery models. So things that used to take perhaps months or even years, now there's a question of, can it be done differently? For the first time, we're not just moving from waterfall to agile, we're actually rethinking deployment as a whole. We're rethinking what it means to run a new process or a new offering or a new technology, because we have these capabilities in our tool set, whether that's development, process design, customer understanding, market assessment, that's all coming together much more quickly. I think the other piece is we're questioning, where does expertise sit and what is the value that individuals bring? There's a piece around creativity and ideas that maybe, we're hearing more and more, we're moving into an idea economy where being able to deploy ideas at scale is really going to be a differentiator.
I'll take it maybe from a specific business line lens. For example, developer productivity is a huge area where today, even at Google, 50% of code is written with AI. And for us, being able to, augment our existing developers with this technology is crucial, because if we're doing this, that means our competitors are as well, right? And for us to be able to be successful, making sure that the KPIs and the OKRs that we're setting are aligned to this level of automation, but then also leveraging the automation. From a developer perspective, if you had a specific task that previously, prior to AI, took you half the amount of time that it takes, or now it takes twice the amount of time that it takes now, you want to be able to adjust for that. Because if you're going to be tackling something like a massive backlog of activities that need to kind of get completed, being able to put AI and say, we're going to be leveraging it to save us all this time, and we can actually take away or work towards that, never-ending backlog, allows us to be able to track that this is actually making a difference. This is taking away a lot of the grunt work and allowing the end user or the worker to work on the more creative elements, as kind of Jessica was mentioning.
I want to leave our audience with a message about the future, right? Talking about AI. What can our consumers do today to adopt and embrace the changes AI is going to bring in future?
So, at PwC, that's really a big focus area for us with financial institutions. That many have, started to deploy the technology, and it's a question of getting people bought into it and comfortable with testing it, and realizing that there's a lot of support required around that, understanding that there's a very human behavioral element, that people might be, scared or intimidated, as we said, unsure how data is being used. So making sure that change management approach is being thought about of, how do I support different generations in the workforce that are interacting with this? For some, they might be very comfortable using this in their personal lives, and now they're bringing it to work. For others, this is their first time engaging with it. So making sure that there's communications around it, that there's learnings, that there's the ability to interact or ask questions and get that support. And then there's the other piece of being very clear on metrics and how this is driving outcomes for the individual, for the team, for the organization as a whole. And when we move it away from just an efficiency play to an outcomes play, or to being able to spend more time, build relationships, really build their own objectives in their role, that's when we start to see a step change in thinking about this differently. But we kind of come from a spot of realizing not everyone is looking at AI from the same lens, and we need to be supportive to that, to enable them.
AI is, at the end of the day, a tool. Some people forget that. They think this is either some fad, or they think this is going to be like the next Terminator Skynet situation, right? So I feel like understanding that it's actually a tool, similar to what a calculator is to a mathematician. When we developed the calculator, mathematicians didn't disappear, right? They're still around, but made math more accessible, I think, for everyone. And what I would say from an adoption perspective, in organizations, I would say raise your hand for that AI project or that POC that's being kind of deployed, and get your hands dirty, try out the solution. If you have access to licenses or any of the models themselves, try to incorporate it as part of your day-to-day life. From simple things to just kind of getting organized to like more complex things of like actually trying to complete tasks with it. But I would say try to use it in your personal life, right? There's an element of this technology is free in a lot of cases, right? It's very accessible to the end user. I would recommend you to not just be focused on one model itself. Try them all, right? As much as I'm from Google and I have to say, love Gemini, and Gemini is awesome. It's the best right now. But I would say try them all, right? Try ChatGPT, try the Claude.
Try Rover.
Try Rover if you have access to Rover, right?
Yeah.
And understand what the limitations of the technology is, like what can it do really well that it can support in your day-to-day work, but then what it can't do. And I think understanding that limitation already puts you a step above the average user, because then you can understand this is something that is made for AI, or this is something that still requires my expertise, my specialization to be able to execute and be able to complete in this kind of larger ecosystem with leveraging AI and leveraging these specialists.
Yeah, absolutely. And with our Rover AI, when you ask a question, advisor asks a question, and if we don't have the answer, we go to work, we get the answer for you, and you will send you a note within 24 hours that this is the answer to your question. So it's not a dead end. It's a journey. It's evolving. So when you ask us questions we don't know, we will get you the answer. So I think that's the message we want to take away when we talk about artificial intelligence. It's going to evolve. It's going to change.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. Thank you, Aaqib. Thank you, Jessica. What a fantastic conversation. I think our audience is going to absolutely love listening about AI. It's everywhere. It's booming, and it's going to continue to boom. And we hope to have you back soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.